we're going to learn a special type of triangle. It's called a 45-45-90 triangle. And if you have one of these, you can use some rules for them that'll make it a lot faster than doing the Pythagorean theorem. So let me show you. Let's do these by the Pythagorean theorem first. So here, we would have 3 squared plus 3 squared is equal to, I'll call it C. It doesn't matter what we call it. So that's going to be 9 plus 9 is C squared. So 18 is C squared, which makes C the square root of 18. Now we need to simplify the square root of 18. If we divide it by 2, that gives me 9. Divide by 3 twice. The square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is 3. And so we have 3 times the square root of 2. We can do the same thing for this one. It'll be 6 squared plus 6 squared is equal to C squared. It's 36 plus 36 is C squared. So 72 is C squared. So C is the square root of 72. And we'll simplify that. 2 goes into 72 36 times. 2 goes into 36 18 times. 2 goes into 18 9 times. 9 is divisible by 3. 3 goes into 9 3 times, and 3 goes into 3 once. So we've got the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is 3. The square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 2. So we've got 3 times 2 times whatever's left is left under the square root of 2. So this is 6 square roots of 2. So we can do those problems by doing the Pythagorean theorem. But I want you to notice something. When these two sides were both 3, the hypotenuse was 3 square roots of 2. When these two sides were both 6, the hypotenuse was 6 square roots of 2. So, without doing any work, if I told you that this was 15 and it's a right triangle and that's 15, what do you guess this would be? What did you say? Yeah, 15 square roots of 2. It turns out it works that way every single time. So, here's the rule. In an isosceles right triangle, which is a 45-45-90 triangle, the reason it's 45-45-90 triangle is that these two angles have to be the same, and since that's 90, these two each have to be 45. That's why it's called a 45-45-90. It's also called an isosceles right triangle. They're the same thing. The legs are congruent, and the hypotenuse equals the leg times the square root of 2, which means the other way around, the leg equals the hypotenuse divided by the square root of 2. So let's look at some problems. We're asked to find the value of both x and y in each of these. So I check, we have a 45-45-90 triangle. Don't use this rule if it's not 45-45-90. Now notice they only wrote the 45 and the 90, but that means the other angle has to be 45, so the angles add up to 180. The two legs are going to be the same, so if that's 25, so is x. And to find the hypotenuse, we just take the leg, 25, and multiply it times the square root of 2. And we don't have to do anything to this. That's already simplified. All right, let's try this one. This is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So the two legs are going to be the same length. So y is going to be 5 square roots of 3. Stetson, you with us? Yeah, let's get your head off the desk, please. You okay? So that'll be 5 square roots of 3 times the square root of 2. And a 45, 45, 90 to get the hypotenuse, we take the leg and multiply by the square root of 2. That's 5 square roots of 6. And if we tried to simplify the square root of 6, it's only 2 times 3. There are no two that are alike, so it can't be simplified. All right, now, what about this? This time we're given the hypotenuse. So instead of multiplying by the square root of 2, we're going to divide by the square root of 2. Because we're going from a big piece to a smaller piece, it makes sense that we would divide. So this is going to be 11 square roots of 2 divided by the square root of 2. How can I simplify that the easiest way? Yeah, the square root of 2 times over the square root of 2 is 1. This is just 11. And so is the other leg. All right, again, a 45, 45, 90 triangle. The two legs then are equal. 9 square roots of 2 is one leg, y is the other leg. To get the hypotenuse, we'll always be multiplying by the square root of 2. So it's 9 square roots of 2 that we had times the square root of 2. What's the square root of 2 times the square root of 2? 2. So it's 9 times 2 is 18. All right, for number 5. Which side are we given? Are we given one of the legs or the hypotenuse? The hypotenuse, exactly right. So if we've got the big part, we're getting something smaller, we're going to divide. We're going to divide by the square root of 2. You did these on last night's homework. What do we do at this point?
You have to put it square root 2 over square root 2 times it by 24 and square root 2.
Yeah, exactly right. Well said. We're going to multiply by the square root of 2 over the square root of 2. So that's 24 square roots of 2 over, what's the square root of 2 times the square root of 2? 2. Can I simplify that any more? Yes, because 2 divides evenly into 24. So that's 12 square roots of 2. And so is the other leg. In a 45, 45, 90, the legs are going to be the same size. All right, which side are we given on this one? Are we given the hypotenuse or a leg? The hypotenuse. So we're going to divide by the square root of 2. And I don't know why there's no x and y on that. I apologize. Oh, let's call this one x and this one y. So we have 9 square roots of 5 divided by the square root of 2. Just like we did on number 5, since 2 won't divide evenly into 5, we'll multiply it by the square root of 2 over the square root of 2. That's 9 square roots of 10 over 2. 2 will not divide evenly into 9, so we're done. 9 square roots of 10 over 2. You get answers that look like that sometimes. The other leg will also be 9 square roots of 10 over 2. All right, for number 7, which side are we given? Leg or hypotenuse? Hypotenuse. What do we do to the hypotenuse to get the leg? Do we multiply or do we divide? We're going to divide by the square root of 2. This time we can simplify really quickly and easily because 2 divides into 6 evenly. This is 19 square roots of 3. And so y is also 19 square roots of 3. I threw number 8 on here to remind you that not everything is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. In fact, I know that this is not a 45, 45, 90 triangle, because if it was, if the leg was 6, the hypotenuse would be 6 square roots of 2, and it's not. Yes? Because this is a whole number, and that's a square root. They either have to both be whole numbers or both be square roots to cancel. So what are we going to do on number 8 then? It's not a 45, 45, 90 triangle, but it is a right triangle. It's called what? So tell me how you would set up the equation. Do you know that? Okay, yeah.
6 squared plus x squared equals 10 squared.
Exactly. We're going to do the Pythagorean theorem. So that's 36 plus x squared is 100. Subtract 36 and we get x squared is 64. So x is the square root of 64, which is what? 8. Do we need to do all that work? No. This is a 3, 4, 5 triangle. It's a Pythagorean triple. This is 2 times 3. This is 2 times 4. So it's going to be, 2 times 5. So this is going to be 2 times something. This is a 3, 4, 5 that's been doubled. So it's 6, 8, 10. So this side has to be 8. If you know the Pythagorean triple, you don't have to show this work. Otherwise, got to show it. Questions? All right, then I have a worksheet